vehicle crashworthiness analysis. So basically, this is the content that I would be sharing. First is the role of crashworthiness in vehicle design. Now you can see that in right side of the window there is a photograph that is showing two different cars that have been crashed together. So this full study of the area of this study is called as crashworthiness. Now we will be seeing in detail. Now, since I am talking about automobile structure, so before going forward, we would be understanding the basics of automobile structure, and that is BIW, and what are the types of impact that would be having during the crash. Then various testing standards that are there relevant to the crash worthiness that will be having a look at that. Then further role of FE analysis in crash worthiness, advancements in automotive crash box. There are various structures that are being used in automotive crash box. So that we will be seeing in little bit detail form. And then after that, the skills and the tools that are being used in industry, that is prevalent in industry for analysis of crash worthiness in different automotive OEMs. Now moving forward, the crash worthiness. Now this is the term that is basically refers to the quality of the structure, how a structure is going to respond to the impact that is going to happen. That is called as crashworthiness. So it is basically the ability to protect the occupants during an impact. Now here you can see a video is being played where a car is been impacted on a rigid wall, where now here you can see that the structure, what is the response of the structure. Now full this thing is being called as crashworthiness. Now on the top side of that, you can see that the occupant or the dummy that is been placed over here in the crash, that is been, you can see the analysis of this particular dummy, how it is going to, how the structure is going to protect the dummy from the crash. That is full study is being called as crash worthiness. Now there are different goals that has to be achieved during crash worthiness. Now first is that the body has to be undergoing progressive thresholds. Progressive crushing has to happen. Here you can see that the structure is deforming in a progressive form. So this is what you want, because when the structure is going to deform in a progressive form, the kinetic energy of the crash will be absorbed. And that's what you want. You have to absorb the kinetic energy before sharing it to, so that it cannot be shared to the occupant. Now, another crashworthiness goal, as I've already told you, is to protect the integrity of the passenger cabin, because you don't want the occupant to be injured. There are various forms of crashes: frontal crash, side crash, rear and rollover crash. Now, in the further slides, we would be able to see what are all these crashes, crash analysis, and all the things that have been involved in the crash worthiness. Now, why crash worthiness? First of all, from automotive OEMs, they have to go through an mandatory crash test because of the new car assessment program that has been there. So for OEMs, crash worthiness is a must. They have to undergo the crash analysis so that they would be able to understand what is the performance of their structure. So for an engineering graduate, he must be able to know what is crash worthiness so that he can get into all those roles, technical roles that have been there for crash analysis, like crash test engineers and analysis engineers. There are so many variant roles that I will be talking in the further slides. Now, before that, why crashworthiness is required for all of us is that while during mechanical engineering, we usually study the design of components as strength-based criteria. Now, what is strength-based criteria? That I would be discussing in this particular slide. Now, what happens for a particular thing to be designed? What we do, we take a certain assumptions of different theories of failures in mechanical engineering. Fine, and that theories of failures that particularly state that how you can protect your structure from being failed. Fine, for example, if I take a lathe machine, if I want to design a lathe machine, what I will be doing, first I will be doing what are the forces that are going to come on the lathe machine that is going to happen. Now the forces due to the spindle rotation, that would be taken into account, weight of the component, that would be taken into account, and all those loads that would be transferred to the bed. So what you would be doing, that bed should be able to withstand all the loads. So all the loads will be withstand by the beds so that the failure doesn't happen. Now for that, while analysis, you use different theories of failure, and for that theories of failure are basically dependent on yield strength or ultimate strength of the material. So these are the things that we take into account. Now, what do? We even give factor of safety so that our particular design doesn't even fail. We're not aware of the design of lathe machine in full detail. So we will take a small component called as shaft, because we have studied this in our mechanical engineering. Now, shaft, we know that it is a power transmission uh, system. So for that, we use a shaft of solid cross section I have taken. Now, shaft, what it does, it is basically primarily loaded on the torsion. It has to transmit the torque. We know it is transmitting power. So there is a torsion equation in play. So in that torsion equation, we find out the value of stress, shear stress, and bending stress. Now here you can see that tau is equal to T by J into R, where J is nothing, polar moment of inertia. So polar moment of inertia of a solid circular object is this much, pi d power 4 by 32. Now putting all the values, you get this formula 16T by pi d cube for shear stress, and for bending stress 32M by pi d cube. Now, why I wanted to discuss is that after getting all these values, you compare this result with the maximum value, maximum shear stress that a material can bear, or maximum bending stress that a material can bear, based on different theories of failures. So if this value doesn't increase, thus doesn't is not greater than the maximum stress, then we can say that our shaft is safe, fine for working. So this is how you design for a mechanical engineering component. But in crashworthiness, you want the material to fail. That's why that structure has to fail. Here the study is fully reverse as compared to that of mechanical engineering. So here the study is fully based on how the structure will be failing. You want the structures to fail so that it can absorb the full energy of the crash. Now this we will be studying in detail in this webinar. Now this is the physics of crashworthiness. Basically, crashworthiness is dependent on two different principles. First is the work energy principle. Work energy principle is nothing but the conservation law of energy, and second is conservation of momentum. Now, here I will be explaining about a crash going to happen. We are taking a automobile that is going at a velocity of v, which is having a mass of m. So its initial kinetic energy will be half mv square. Now that car is going to impact onto a tree. After the impact, what has happened? It has recoiled back and it has moved a distance of t unit after impact. Now you want to calculate the force, average force that the crash has happened. So for that, there is we find that the kinetic energy would be equal to the work done, and from this equation, you can find out the amount of force that will be exerted on the structure. So this is the way in which you are going to find out the amount of forces. See, this is a very simple equation. It's not that simply you can get this, but the basic maths behind that is this only. Similarly, if you want to find out the values of velocities that is going to happen during the crash, so there comes the role of conservation of momentum. Initial momentum will be equal to final momentum. That is simply nothing but m1 v1 is equal to m2 v2. So you can find out the values of different velocities after the crash and before the crash. What is the values? The most important, one of the important terms that emerge from that is impulse. Impulse is nothing but the force per unit time that can be used for different aspects in crashworthiness analysis. So all these things will be seeing in further details. This is how basically a crashworthiness works in a simple form. Now I want to discuss about the automotive structure. See, what we are doing, we are dealing with for a crashworthiness analysis, we are dealing with an automobile. So we should be knowing about the basics of an automobile. So first we have to know about the BIW. What is BIW? It is body in white. Body in white means you can say the sheet metal components that are going to carry the load, because here we are thinking about the load carrying ability of the structure. So all the load carrying structures will be studied, will be comprised in the BIW. Here you can see that there is a crash box, there are A pillar, B pillar, and C pillar. These all are very important because they would be carrying different loads at different times. There's a crash box at the behavior. I have already told you there are different types of crash tests. That is frontal impact, side impact, and back impact. So all these will be combined, will be carrying loads at different times, or even they can carry load at different impacts. So these all are very important. Now I would like to throw a light on what are the materials basically being used. It's not a general thing, but basically that is what are the used materials. So I have taken an example of Volvo 6 S60. Why I have taken the example of Volvo? Because crash is basically been, because safety of the occupants is basically been started with the help by Volvo. So you can say that because Volvo has evolved with different forms of innovative results. For example, it has evolved with the V-type 3-point safety belt that we are using currently, and that they haven't even patented that design. They have given it for free for in order to ensure the safety of the automobiles. So that's why I've taken Volvo as a standard, but but it is not a standard. See, there are different materials that is being used by different automobile OEMs. So what is this? Here they have used different materials like aluminium. You can see in green aluminum is there, and they're mostly they have been using steel, structural steel of different strengths. See, I have told you these are the load carrying points. So they are using more high, ultra high structural steel there. Now, what happens if you are using steel? Obviously, its strength is more, but compared to strength, its weight also is more. So, strength to weight ratio also plays a very important role in automobile OEMs. So, that is also being taken into account for different designing aspects. So that's why people are trying to come up with new novel materials in order to replace high structural strength steels in different points, or you can replace aluminum also at different points. Different novel materials are being combined, are being coming into existence. Different research is going on. So we will be seeing in further in all those things also. I have told you that we will be seeing some novel materials. Now, coming to the testing standards, what happens is that the crashworthiness is important because different testing standards has been come into existence. Now, government has came up with new car assessment program. So under the new car assessment programs, different categories are there, NCAP. So different categories of safety are there. So for that, crashworthiness has came into existence, and now you can consider that in India it is currently a very big what is a talking point because because of the results of Maruti crash tests under GCAP and GNCAP and Tata Tiago and Mahindra Thar, all those things has came into existence. There was a rift between Tata Tiago and Maruti Brezza because Maruti got zero rating and Tata Tiago was considered performing in safety way. So it's one of the talking points. So it's going to be in future also different aspects has to be there for crash worthiness. So it is one of the topmost areas where you can find out jobs, where you can find out research opportunities. So many things will be coming into play. Now, I would be considering there are basically safety is being divided into two different categories in automobile. One is the active safety, another one is passive safety. So in active safety, what is that? It consists of all the assisting parameters that would be required to avoid the occurrence of crash. Find all the components that would be assisting to avoid the occurrence of the crash means is basically prevents the crash. That would be considering under active safety. While passive safety is while the in the event of the crash has happened, how you can protect the occupant. All those features that would be coming into existence in passive safety. Now, for active safety, you can take the examples of mirror, anti-lock braking system, emergency brake assistance. All those things would be coming under active safety. While for passive safety, seat belts, airbags, and crumple zones, energy absorbing brackets, all those things will be coming under passive safety. Now, all these things is being studied by different institutes. For example, here you can see IIHS, Insurance Institute of Highway Safety. It studies the evaluates the vehicle under two different safety and active. It is some form of passive safety and active safety. The same thing, FMVSS, it is one of the standards, standing institutes that gives the safety standards. It has been giving the safety standards from long back. Then you can consider that NCAP has taken different values. It has FMVSS and IIHS has played major role in determining the values of NCAP. Now NCAP is new car assessment program will be for each country it is different. So there are different NCAPs like UNCAP, US NCAP, ENCAP, Euro NCAP, JNCAP, Japanese NCAP. So each country has given the standards based on their requirements. And what are the requirements? That requirements are that basically you can say that morphology of each individual in different countries are changing as per the requirements of it's not the same. So what happens as per the requirement of the pedestrian impact and all those things, so that accordingly, each government is coming up with its own standard and it is being tested based on that standard. So currently, US NCAP and ENCAP are the most important testing standards that are being used. So as I have already told you, that there are various forms of testing standards that would be implemented. Now, FMVSS, it also basically evaluates the different features of the vehicle. For example, vehicle classification, how the vehicles will be classified, how its lighting systems will be, and steering and sitting arrangements, how it has to be regulated. All those regulations will be taken care by FMVSS. It has came up with different values. So there are different forms of tests that has to be carried out for a car to be certified as safe. Fine. So one of the most important aspect is pedestrian impact. As you can see in this figure, it is a pedestrian impact. So in pedestrian impact, how a car is going to impact a pedestrian, that we study. And based on that, the results are being implemented. Here you can see that different leg form impactors are there. So all those leg form impactors are studied separately on different angles at the different portions of the car, how it is going to impact at different velocities. These all are standards. So how the performance of the car will be on based on that impact, and how it is going to affect the pedestrian, that would be studied in this particular impact form. So some rating would be given on based on that particular thing. Now moving forward is the frontal load case. So frontal impact, here you can see frontal impacts are of basically two types. Directly it is having a frontal impact. Second one is frontal offset impact. Here you can see frontal impact and frontal offset impact. As I told you, there are two different, we will be taking throughout the two different NCAPs, that is US NCAP and ENCAP, Euro NCAP, for our analysis. So that because these are the two most widely used new car assessment programs. Fine. Now here you can see for frontal impacts, you require a barrier. This is a barrier. Now there are different barriers, different sets of barriers. Here you can see an offset deformable barrier that is basically being used for Euro NCAP, JNCAP, ANCAP. JNCAP is nothing, Japanese new car assessment program. ANCAP, Australian new car assessment program, Latin NCAP. So here we will be using offset deformable barrier, but rigid barrier will be used for US NCAP. Now these are the two different, here you can see for frontal impact and frontal offset impact, that would be coming under the category of ENCAP. It is going to, for frontal impact, it will be impacting the rigid barrier at a velocity of 50 km per hour. And frontal offset impact, it is be impacting at the velocity of 64 km per hour. In this, there will be two different dummies that would be kept, H3, HII 50%. Now, you can see that here, in case of US NCAP, the value of frontal offset impact is 56 km per hour. In case of ENCAP was 64 km per hour. So there are different regulations of different countries based upon their requirements, and they have decided their own new car assessment program. If it is not there, then obviously countries like us, we are coming up with our new car assessment programs. So we are having global, we are going for global. Now coming to the case of side impact load case as compared to the front load case. Now again, what would be the performance of the car structure when it comes to the side impact, that would be studied. So for that, two different barriers are being used. These are the two different barriers. Now US NCAP use this barrier and Euro NCAP use this barrier. Here, the major difference is the mass. You can see the mass here, and the velocities, how it is going to happen, impact is going to happen. Side MDB impact, this is the way it is going to impact on EN cap, while for USN cap, this is the way it is going to impact. It would be at an angle, certain velocities will be given, and it will be different parameters will be set. So those parameters are standard parameters, standard results are there. Based on the standard results, each test will be performed, and what are the values of the standard results? As per that standard results, the values obtained will be compared, and based on that the rating will be provided. So this is how the testing works. Fine. Different impact cases will be studied, like side impact, frontal impact, and pedestrian impacts. At different cases, different velocities will be studied, and accordingly, what are the safety features that are there in the car, that will be taken into account, and there will be some standard values of parameters as per that, or load parameters you can say, in different portions, how the load behavior would be there, that will be studied, and accordingly, what are the values we have obtained, that will be noted down, and then the values of the car rating will be decided. Car rating for the safety will be decided based upon this particular aspect.